So we're doing test 1 part B, question 5. So here we have two inequalities, so we have to graph two lines and find out what area they're both true in. So let's start with equation inequality 1, then do inequality 2. So 1. Now this one already has y by itself. It looks like the form y equals mx plus b. So that's my y-intercept, and that's my slope. But, there's no number here, so there's really a 1 hiding there. But my slope has to be a fraction. I just put it over 1. And my y-intercept is where I start, and I draw that point. So it says draw a point at -1 on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, because it's positive, I have to go up 1, right 1. So up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. Okay. Oops, I have glue there. Let's get the glue off. So now I have to draw my line, my boundary line, but whenever I see a solid line, I draw a solid line. If I don't see a solid line, I draw dashed. So here there is no solid line, there is no solid line, so I have dashed lines for both of them. So I'm going to do dashed lines. Okay. Now I'm going to label this line number 1 so I don't forget. So now I'm going to decide what side to color. What side is true. So I'm going to take 0, 0 because it's not on the boundary line. And I'm going to substitute it into the inequality. So wherever there's an x and a y, I'm going to put 0. What's 0 minus 4? Minus 4. So let's read it this way. This is me walking. I run into 0. Then I run into the big side of the sign. So 0 is bigger than -4. 0 is bigger than -4. Is 0 bigger than -4? Yes. So that's true. That means this point is true. 0, 0 is true. That means all these points are true when I substitute them into this inequality, and all these points are false. So what side do I color? I color the true side. So I'm going to make lines like this coming up perpendicular, like square, to this line. It makes it easier to find the final answer. So now I'm going to graph the second inequality. So I'm going to put this in the form y equals mx plus b, get y alone. So if y wants to be alone, we have to get rid of x. So minus x from both sides. And now I'm left with y. I need to write the x term first. So let's put this x term first. And now this 2, because it doesn't have anything in front of it, he's a positive 2, so I write plus 2. So there's my y-intercept, and there's my slope. Y-intercept is where we start, we draw the point. There's no number here. That means, oops, I can't see. Oops, let's make it a little smaller so we can see everything. Sorry. So I'm going to put that, there's a 1 hiding here. So really, there's a -1 for my slope, but I need to make it a fraction. So I always put it over 1. Now this top number is always about up, down, and the bottom number is left and right. Now because he's negative, that means go down, and he's positive, so that means go right. So we're going to go right. So we put a point at positive 2, and go down 1, right 1. So put a point at positive 2 on the y-axis, go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. There, now I can see it. But be careful, don't put the line on yet. Is it going to be solid or dashed? There's no solid line here, so it's going to be dashed. So that's my line number 2. Okay. Now I have to decide what side to color this line. So I'm going to take the easiest point, 0, 0, and substitute it into this inequality. Wherever there's an x and y, I'm going to put 0. Oops, that should be 2. And 0 less than 2. So I'm going to read it this way. This is me. I'm going to walk this way. I hit the 0, and then I touch the small side of the sign first. So it says 0 is smaller than 2. Is 0 smaller than 2? Is 0 smaller than 2? Is 0 smaller than 2? Yeah, that's true. That means when I take 0, here, this is my line 2. I'm putting a pencil here so I can see it because it's messy on the paper. So here's 0, 0. When I substitute 0, 0 into this inequality here, it's true. So that means this point is true. That means all the points here are true and all the points here are false. So now I have to color this side, the true side. So I'm going to put lines like this. So this cuts it into 4 areas. This area has no coloring. So if I take any point from here, both of these inequalities will be false. If I take a point from this area where it only has one set of shading, only one of the inequalities is true. If I take here a point from this area, because it only has one set of lines, it means only one of these inequalities is going to be true. But see how this area has 2 sets of shading. If I take any point from this area, it's going to make both of these inequalities true and show this area is the solution set, because we are looking for the area where both inequalities end up being true. Okay?